Welcome, and all aboard my engineers. Next stop, Concept Land. Now this trip will be a little different than usual as I talk about my top 5 Disneyland features missing in action. The first thing on the list at number 5 are the French fry rocks. This is the nickname given to those big weird copper spikes that came out of the ground in Tomorrowland. Now these were a terrible idea, all things considered, and were only added in a cheap attempt to make Tomorrowland look more steampunk in 1998. All this to match Disneyland Paris's Discoveryland. Along with changing the People Mover to the rocket rods, changing the rocket jets into the Astro Orbiter and moving it to the front of the land, putting a kinetic statue where the rocket jets used to be, and painting Space Mountain copper. All terrible decisions. But after trying to fix all of this due to the backlash, except for Astro Orbiters, these rocks were left until late 2019 when they were deconstructed to open up the entrance to Tomorrowland and add new planners. As bad as these were, they have been there since I started going to Disneyland, and are a part of my childhood, leaning on the weird geometry as I wait in line for Astro Blasters. Another terrible idea I loved as a kid was version 2 California Adventure, after they added Bugs Land and Tower of Terror, which segues into our number 4 spot, that giant jet engine misty thingy in front of Soarin' Over California. So the land started out as one big area called Golden State. Then in 2012, the land was split into 3 areas called Pacific Wharf, Grizzly Peak, and Condor Flats. Then in 2015, Condor Flats got changed into the Grizzly Airfield for better synergy between the areas. When they were remodeling the land and adding Soarin' Over the World, they got rid of a lot of the original theming, including the big misty jet engine thingy. Now I miss this because on those hot California days, walking around the park, it started to get exhausting, especially as a kid, and every time you pulled into Condor Flats to ride Soarin', this huge engine would start spewing out mist, just wanted to be run through. Original California Adventure has another spot on my list with the Mickey ear loops on California Screamin' coming in at number 3. When the park opened, Paradise Pier had the Sunwheel, and the loop within Screamin' had pieces of track on top that made the whole thing into a hidden Mickey. But when California Adventure was being retooled, they made the Sunwheel into Mickey's Fun Wheel, and took away the extra track from Screamin' and painted a sun in the middle, now being replaced with the Pixar Pier logo. As much as I understand the need to make California Adventure better in any way possible, it hurt that the original change was as lame as it was compared to the iconic Mickey head. Speaking of Mickey, number 2 is in Toontown with the fan favorite Jolly Trolley. The trolley opened with Toontown and would take a round trip of the land with the tracks causing the cars to bounce up and down while music played and you moved at a snail's pace. The problem was that the trolley's tracks were laid through the main walkway, causing a hazard to guests, leading it to be closed down in 2003, leaving one car for photos permanently still in its station. Finally, at the number 1 slot is Professor Barnaby Owl on Splash Mountain. The rest of this video's been an excuse for me to talk about our fallen brother. So, when Splash Mountain started to take on-ride photos, they added an animatronic owl named Barnaby. And at the very end of the ride, he would lift your log and show you the picture that was taken when you were going down the drop. The problem was that if there was a log jam, there's a strong chance Barnaby would show your log the photo of either the log in front of you or the log behind you. Along with that, the time taken to lift the log, show you the photo, then release the log started to become an issue for ride capacity, as the logs were not getting into the station as quickly as they could. Seeing these issues, they stopped using the brake when the boats were running behind schedule to just let him talk as you passed under, and maybe you saw the right photo. Then shortly after that, the screen was removed and he stopped talking until finally he was removed entirely, only leaving the perch and his lever. There isn't a lot of information regarding his disappearance or even his existence, so it's hard to know when exactly he was added or taken away. Since Professor Barnaby Owl's photographic art studio, where you could pick up your photo, opened in 1992, it's easy to assume he was installed around the same time. So I did some digging, and from the footage that I found on YouTube, he wasn't in the ride in 1990, there was no footage in 1991, and he was in the ride in 1992, proving that he must have come along with the on-ride photo. Then around 2015, the brakes were restricted, and in 2016, the screen was removed and the audio was stopped, but the animatronic was still in place. Finally, he was removed in 2018. As insignificant as he is to the average rider, since you see your photo at the exit anyway, it just felt more special getting shown it by one of the characters on the ride. Similar to when Roz talks to the guests at the end of Mike and Sully to the Rescue, but more restricted. Since the photo studio in Disney World and Tokyo Disneyland goes by splashdown photos, they never added Barnaby to these versions. In Tokyo Disneyland, though, they did add a different owl to the ride queue that talks to guests as they walk by, similar to Scuttle in the Disney World version of The Little Mermaid. I hope the animatronic was reused somewhere or saved in the Walt Disney Archives, and that this video will help to secure him in Disney history, since as far as I know, there's no other website or article about him, let alone only one available photo in Google Images. Now, as we pull into the station after this different kind of trip, I'd like to remind you to follow our Instagram and Twitter, where we post updates and polls about our next destination. As you leave the train, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that YouTube tells you the next time this train leaves for Conceptland. Thank you all for coming aboard, and I'll see you real soon.